Good late afternoon and thanks for joining us. I'm Sage and you're watching 𝐾𝐤𝐴 TV live from Sydney. This is the last show of the day, the last trade. And there's no better way to wind down the day than with today's market close commentary. So let's dive straight in. Australian shares started the week on a strong note and climbed to a fresh high led by the solid buying across the tech space. The market rally was driven by the buy now pay later stocks after the sectoral leader Afterpay received a 39 billion Australian dollar takeover bid from Square Inc., the payments firm of Twitter co-founder Jack Dorsey. The market sentiment was also boosted by a slew of mergers and acquisitions news despite COVID-19's wave. And the ASX 200 added 98.80 points, setting a new 100-day high. And earlier today, the equity benchmark opened higher and gained 1.5% in the intraday trade. Among the individual stocks, BNPL Afterpay topped the gainers list by rising 19.5%. Afterpay was followed by rival firm Zip, which rose 8.7%. And other fintech companies such as Sezzle, Split Payments, Humm Group and OpenPay Group also ended higher. And on the flip side, Australia's largest construction materials and building products supplier Boral emerged as a top laggard, falling 4.8%. It was followed by the mining services company Mineral Resources, which dropped 4.2%. And next up, let's see how the sectoral indices performed today. The equity market witnessed a broad-based buying as 10 of the 11 sectoral indices ended in the positive terrain. Information technology was the biggest gainer of the day as a surge in Afterpay's shares propelled the Australian tech stocks index to 10-year highs. And the tech space closed 6.8% higher, followed by the financials, which gained 1.7%. And among others, the healthcare, utilities, energy, consumer staples and consumer discretionary rose over 1%. And in the tech space, the index heavyweight Afterpay, Zip, Xero, WiseTech Global, Nearmap, Megaport and Altium were all the notable gainers. Bucking the trend, however, materials was the only loser on the sectoral front, closing marginally lower following a fall in the iron ore prices. The index heavyweights BHP Group, Rio Tinto and Fortescue Metals Group ended in the red. And within the banking pack, Australia's big four lenders, Westpac Banking Corporation, Commonwealth Bank of Australia, Australia New Zealand Banking Group, as well as the National Australia Bank, ended higher ahead of the Reserve Bank of Australia's monetary policy meeting. The central bank, in its policy announcement on Tuesday, is expected to delay its decision to taper the bond buying program as Sydney remains under a coronavirus lockdown. And now, before we look at the shares that are in the news today, it's time for a short break. Hi, I'm Sage and get ready to take the crypto ride with me on 𝐾𝐤𝐴 TV. Watch the Crypto Buzz every Tuesday and join the excitement at 𝐾𝐤𝐴 TV. From Bitcoins to NFTs to Dogecoin and DeFi, we have updates about everything around these digital currencies. Understand the investing rationale and the risks involved in the space with me, Sage, on Crypto Buzz. Keep watching 𝐾𝐤𝐴 TV. Welcome back, viewers. Thanks so much for your company, and you are watching 𝐾𝐤𝐴 TV live from Sydney, and this is the last show of the day, the last trade. In this segment, we'll shift our focus now towards the stocks that created a buzz today. Shares of Star Entertainment Group, fell as much as 1.75% as the company's earnings were impacted by lockdown extensions, and the company said that the lockdown extension in Queensland till 8th August will impact its operations at the Star Gold Coast and the Treasury Casino in Hotel Brisbane. The rapid spread of the Delta variant of the coronavirus has forced Australia to lock down large parts of the country, with New South Wales particularly hit hard by infections. And shares of Qantas Airways dropped over 1% on plans to stand down employees temporarily. Australia's largest airline by fleet size has announced around 2,500 workers would be stood down from mid-August for an estimated period of 2 months. The carrier has taken this decision in response to the extended COVID-19 lockdowns in Sydney. And the share price of Australia's casino operator Crown Resorts rose nearly 2% on management changes, and the company announced that the Crown Melbourne's chief executive Xavier Walsh would stand down on August 20th ahead of his departure from the company on the 9th of December 2021. The company said it would make an interim appointment for the role of CEO Crown Melbourne following consultations with the Victorian Commission for Gambling and Liquor Regulations. Shares of buy now, pay later firm Afterpay ended higher for the second session as investors cheered a takeover offer from the American fintech Square Inc. In the overnight trade on Wall Street, Square's shares climbed 10% on Afterpay's takeover bid, and it's better than expected results for the June quarter. Square Inc. has proposed to acquire Afterpay for 39 billion Australian dollars in Australia's biggest ever buyout deal. The all-stock deal is expected to close in the first quarter of the calendar year 2022, subject to requisite approval. And shares of Credit Corp Group climbed 6% intraday on robust earnings outlooks. The company anticipates its financial year 22 net profit to range from 85 to 95 million Australian dollars due to an increase in organic purchase debt ledger investments and charge-off volumes. The anticipated increase in organic purchase debt ledger investments, along with the ongoing impact of the collection house PDL acquisition, is expected to boost earnings. And the share price of Bellevue Gold soared nearly 2% after it unveiled a high-grade infill and extensional drilling results. The company shared that it has potential to increase the resource and mine life at its Bellevue Gold project beyond the imminent Stage 2 feasibility study. Shares of Piedmont Lithium dropped after it delayed its first shipment of lithium chemicals to Tesla, the world's leading electric vehicle maker. And Piedmont and Tesla had signed an agreement in last September where the Aussie lithium player agreed to supply lithium sometime between July 2022 and July 2023 from its North Carolina mine. And the shares of lithium-ion battery producer Magnus Energy Technologies rose as much as 17% on securing funds. The company said that it has grabbed a 20 million Australian dollar funding from two US-based institutions. The fund will be used in the company's expansion in the lithium-ion battery industry. And also making the news, shares of News Corporation gained on plans to acquire the oil price information service. The media firm said it had inked a deal to acquire the oil price information service OPIS and all associated assets from S&P Global and IHS Markit. And PointsBet Holdings shares fell over 13% after its institutional equity sale. Australia's fastest growing online bookmaker has raised 81 million Australian dollars by selling equities to institutional investors in a deal announced last week. The institutional entitlement offer received strong support from Australian and international institutional shareholders. And the shares of oil and gas major Santos ended lower, pairing the early gains. The energy major said in an ASX update that it would provide loan to Comet Ridge to acquire the Australia Pacific LNG's 30% stake in the Mahalo gas project. The Mahalo gas project is a joint venture between Comet Ridge, Santos and Australia Pacific LNG. Santos and Australia Pacific LNG own 30% stake each in the project, while Comet Ridge holds 40% interest. And following the completion of the acquisition, Comet Ridge's stake will increase to 70%. Cash consideration of 12 million Australian dollars will be paid to Australia Pacific LNG on the completion of the acquisition, and 8 million Australian dollars post-completion payment in deferred tranches. And now, before we look at the Asia markets, it's time for another short break.
Hi there, James Preston for 𝐿𝐴 TV. Are you into gaming and virtual reality? Does AI and the endless possibilities it entails capture your interest? Or are you constantly trawling through the web to try and discover the latest updates and innovations in the tech space? Well, let us do the work for you. From the latest product launches to shocking affairs on the World Wide Web, exclusive interviews and information about the top companies like Apple and Google to brand new tech startups vying for your attention. 𝐊𝐴N's Tech Beat has the latest in what matters in the world of technology. Join me every single Monday on the Tech Beat, exclusive to 𝐊𝐴N TV.
Welcome back, viewers. Sage here. You're watching 𝐊𝐴N TV live from Sydney, and this is the last show of the day, the last trade. And now in our next segment, we'll take a look east towards the Asian markets. The Asian markets were trading mostly lower on Tuesday as rising cases of the Delta coronavirus variant in the region rattled investor confidence, and the muted cues from Wall Street also dented market sentiment as investors fear that increasing COVID-19 cases may derail the global economic recovery. Hong Kong's Hang Seng fell nearly 1% and was the worst performer in the region. The market witnessed selling pressure as persistent concerns about the increasing Chinese official regulations in sectors ranging from technology, fintech and education. Japan's Nikkei was down 0.8%, while the Straits Times Index in Singapore dropped 0.85%. And meanwhile, China's Shanghai traded flat. Bucking the trend, however, South Korea's Kospi was up 0.1%, while Jakarta's stock exchange rose 0.6%. In a similar fashion, India's BSE Sensex was also up 0.6% in the opening deals to trade near the record high. And moving on from Asia now to the US, the American stocks ended on a mixed note in the overnight trade as economic worries relating to the Delta variant of the coronavirus outweighed optimism about infrastructure spending and corporate earnings. The Dow Jones Industrial Average fell 0.28% and the S&P 500 slipped 0.18%. The Nasdaq Composite ended marginally higher by 0.06%. And in the last segment of this show, let's have a quick look at the crypto market's performance. The cryptocurrency markets were trading mostly during the Asian trading hours on Tuesday, led by Bitcoin and Ether. The global market capitalisation of the cryptocurrency dropped by 0.75% to $1.58 trillion in the past 24 hours. And the crypto trades remained concerned about ongoing regulatory crackdowns in China. And last week, the People's Bank of China had said it would keep applying high regulatory pressure on crypto trading, citing financial risks. And the price of Bitcoin, the world's largest cryptocurrency by market capitalisation, is currently around the $38,000 mark, down 4%. And meanwhile, Ether, the world's second largest crypto, also dropped nearly 4%, down to $2,460. And other digital currencies such as Dogecoin, XRP, Cardano and Litecoin also witnessed corrections. And thanks for joining us. That's all for now in the last trade. And with our existing operations in Australia, New Zealand, UK and Canada, 𝐊𝐿𝐴 Media has launched its operations in the US markets. And every day in our first show, the Global Market Roundup, you can get the latest and important news of the US, Europe and the Asia Pacific markets. So on that note, I'll see you as close as possible to 10 a.m. live from Sydney tomorrow morning. Sage signing off.